All right. Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a great Friday or wow, in Abu Dhabi it's probably approaching Saturday at this point, if not already Saturday. Thanks for watching from all the way out there. If you're watching live, let us know in the chat where you're watching from, maybe how things are going for you on this Friday, maybe what you had for lunch. I just finished up my lunch like 10-15 minutes ago. I had Firehouse subs delivered to me with DoorDash. So, Andy, you said you had a good lunch, right?
I have been in the car scrambling back and forth from one of our main facilities back to my house, picking up
Yeah,
some gear. So yeah, ate in the car was not a relaxing lunch to say the least. But hey, it's a
not
good
the most
Friday.
glamorous meal you've ever had.
Definitely not a 5 star. Thanks everybody for
Awesome.
tuning
Well,
in.
yeah, thanks for hanging out with us again. It's middle of summer. We're just chilling out in summertime. My kids are in summer school, so this might be the last quiet live stream that we have for another month or two, and then they'll be back in school starting in August. It'll be quiet again. So, hey, rain today in Germany already as well. We uh we had rain a lot this morning in Kansas City. We got gosh, it was raining for like 3 or 4 hours this morning. Albuquerque, no lunch yet.
It's
It's
90
almost
plus
lunchtime for
here,
you.
high humidity. There was a sprinkle last night, but it's basically just hot,
Oh,
hot and
really?
hotter.
Yeah, that's what we had all last week. It's like 78 or 73 right now because of the rain. So it's pretty nice. I think it's going to be pretty nice next week in Kansas City as well, like maybe in the low 80s. So awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us, everybody. We're back to do another deep dive. Today, we're going to do a deep dive session on screen annotations. Andy's been talking to me on Twitter DMs ever since late last month, talking about the excitement around screen annotations, the ability to like do this new capability powered by whiteboard, and we should talk about this in June because it's really timely. It's just reached public preview, and another special announcement before we dive into this specific capability is another cool feature that came out is the ability to chat with yourself in Microsoft Teams. There's the ability to have like, search for your own name, add yourself, and then use a chat for yourself to like do quick notes or reminders, things like that. For me, I'm probably going to send, self affirmations, things like that. But our friend Daryl Webster over at Modern Work Mentor, he's going to do a live stream today to talk about the chat with yourself feature, as well as some new focus time options that are available in Microsoft Teams. And we've coincided this, we've worked with him that as soon as our live stream is over, so we're going to go for 2 hours like we normally do, but whenever our live stream ends, we're going to use a YouTube feature called oh gosh, what was it? What's it called? Like redirect, live redirect, I think, where it takes our audience and sends you over to the next video you're going to see is going to be Daryl's video as he's live, and you can join his chat and see another cool Microsoft Teams feature. So I'm excited to see how this works out as we kind of approach the landing zone here at an hour and 50 or so minutes. I'm going to bring up Daryl's live stream, and we'll see what it looks like over on his side as we kind of transition over and send you guys over that route to check out another cool Teams feature. So, all right, without further ado, we got a few folks watching. I'm going to turn off the chat overlay, and we will dive into screen annotations. So, Andy, I haven't used screen annotations very much yet since it's been in public preview. I had the opportunity to test it early on and see it like quite a while ago, but I haven't really used it that much in like a more live, more baked environment. So I'm excited to check this out. Have you done screen annotations in your environment yet? Like, are you in public preview at Atrium?
I'm in public preview there. I'm also in public preview in my personal tenant. And as soon as it was announced, I jumped on and had to test it right away.
Mhm.
And I've been playing with it 3 or 4 weeks now, I think, just kind of
Okay.
learning
Yeah.
the ins and outs. I'm actually really excited for it because this
Mhm.
is a big ask that we've had from a lot of our end users. And one of the features that Teams hasn't had is the ability for two-way annotation. So, like for
Mhm.
example, if I'm in PowerPoint Live, I can deliver a presentation and I can annotate on it. But what if I need to have a session where I'm sharing my desktop and somebody on the other end wants to annotate on it? That
Mhm.
feature just hasn't been there. We've done a couple of workarounds. We talked about, like for example, if you're in a Teams meeting and you share the whiteboard, it doesn't get recorded, but if you want a
Mhm.
collaborative experience and you want the recording, everybody can go to the web browser and they can join in to the whiteboard experience there. And whiteboard works. It's a good two-way tool. But there's sometimes like I'm sharing something and somebody on the other side needs to point something out. They need to contribute to that conversation that we're having. And it's
Mhm.
harder when you're talking about like a desktop object. So this one really excites me because this meets the need of me being able to
Yeah.
collaborate as the person driving the conversation. And then whoever's filling in on that conversation, they can now participate uh, in that collaborative effort as well. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to test it today because we've found some nuances, but I'm also
Mhm.
really excited to
Yeah.
see where this goes. And hey, hats off to the team at Microsoft behind this. This has been, I think, a big lift, and they're well on their way.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's gonna be great. It's like you said, it's one of those capabilities that we've seen in other, environments and in other platforms that finally is coming over to Microsoft Teams. The platform that I'm familiar with seeing this out in the wild is the idea of doing screen annotations in Zoom. So I I've been at EY now for a couple months, and our onboarding that we did the first couple days was hosted out of Zoom, and that was so they could do like different tracking and stuff like that. But one of the gaps that leads people to use Zoom over Teams was the ability to do that screen annotation. And what we did is, as part of the onboarding, there was like a slide that they brought up on screen, and it had like these quadrants or these like options for is that this type of behavior, that type of behavior, like what category does the scenario I'm going to give you fit into, typical onboarding new hire type stuff. And what they did that was interesting was they brought that blank slide up on screen with the categories, and they said, all right, we want to turn on screen annotations, and then we're going to have you put a symbol into the box for what you think this aligns with. So here's the scenario. If you think it's this category, use a star. If you think it's that category, use a circle, use a thumbs up. And then so people were annotating on the slide what they thought was going on. And it was kind of a cool way to do polling because it was a different concept where rather than like a word cloud or watching like a graph move, a bar graph kind of move up and down, you were able to see like where spatially on a map people like had their thoughts, and people were like drawing stars and kind of goofing off. But it was really kind of cool to see like you almost see people like go one way, and then as like other opinions come out, you see people like flip their vote, right, and start kind of going with the majority. So it was a really cool exercise, but it wasn't something that we could do in Microsoft Teams meetings. Well, now with public preview, you're able to actually do that. So I think you want me to show this first, Andy, and we can just like show how you get to it, and you got to make sure you're in public preview and stuff,
Yeah, let's just
and then
step through
we'll
it.
we'll drop yours on there. So as we go through this, as always, if you have any questions about any of the demos, or you want to see something, or if you have ideas for how you would use this feature, let us know in the chat for YouTube or LinkedIn or Twitter, wherever you're watching, and we will be able to see that and bring it on screen, and we'll do a live interactive, Q&A, and we'll be able to check things out. You help us drive the live event that we're going to do. So to show you how this works, it's just a meeting option whenever you share your screen. It's going to be in the toolbar up at the top. So I've got an upgrade here today. I went and I've got my Dell computer that's downstairs running Windows 11. So Megan Bowen has upgraded now. She's rocking Windows 11 with that middle start menu, which I really like as a Mac user. I'm a big fan of the new Windows 11. But what you want to make sure is if you don't see this feature, you're going to need like graphical capabilities. So I tested this out in a virtual machine and it did not work. So if you're running in a hypervisor, probably if you're using like Teams and VDI, I don't think this will be available to you. It was grayed out for me whenever I was in a virtual machine. But when I switched to a regular laptop, this one has a discrete graphics card. I was able to do this. The other requirement that you need is you need to be in public preview right here at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. It's going to switch me into public preview, and then it's going to refresh that Teams client. It's got to restart so that I can see the capability to do screen annotations because Megan is in public preview. If you haven't been in public preview before, you'll know that you're in there because you'll see this little P icon. It's a little flag that says P. If you have that flag, then you're in public preview and you'll be able to use this feature. So I've scheduled a meeting with Alex Wilbur and with Andy called Screen Annotation Demo. So we're just going to launch into that meeting real quick here, and we're going to take a look at what that looks like. Now, I don't have Megan's little fake camera right now, so I'm just going to go over to my other camera instead, and we're going to join with no audio and just kind of see what that looks like here. So we've got new view options. You can see some of the new public preview stuff, like I've got the view switcher right over here in the top corner. That's another indicator that you're in public preview right now. Andy's jumping into the meeting right now. And basically what Megan is going to do is she's going to share her screen, and then we're going to enable screen annotations so that we can draw together, me and Andy, and we can mark up, I don't know, we'll just start marking up the Teams window. We'll pretend that we're designing the Microsoft Teams calendar experience. So she goes and shares her screen. It only works if you share your entire screen, not just a window. We're going to share the screen, and in a moment, I should see, there we go. I see this ribbon at the top, and there's a new pencil icon that came up where I can start adding screen annotations. There's other options here, like I can do the standout mode. I can be side by side. You know, you've probably seen this control bar before, but we're going to turn on screen annotations. And what that does is you see this familiar, it showed up just for a second saying, hey, we're enabling screen annotations. Now, what it's really doing in the background is it's starting a Microsoft whiteboard, and the background of that whiteboard is my live screen. So it's like a transparent window with my screen showing, so that now I can go through and I could say like, all right, we've got the calendar right here. We've got the calling button over here, and I can use a laser pointer to kind of point out like, here's what a 1 hour meeting looks like. If I let go, that laser pointer will fade away after a few seconds. Um, and Andy can start annotating as well and start, kind of driving the experience, and we can work on this mock-up together, basically. So Andy, I don't know if you have the capability to do that. Hopefully I didn't do something wrong here. Actually, here's another option. So I checked the little gear. There's this gear icon at the top for me because I'm the one sharing. I own what people can do. And you'll see that there's a couple options. One of them is everyone can annotate or only I can annotate. So I can turn it off so that Andy can't draw anymore, or I can just let everybody collaborate with me. And then I can even show the new collaborative cursors feature that's available in Whiteboard. If I turn that on, now I see Andy's cursor on the screen right here. So I'm going to turn off my laser pointer, and I can actually see his cursor moving in real time and see where he's at with a label, so if you've got some kind of goofball who's like drawing weird stuff on your annotated screen, you can show collaborative cursors, and now you've identified who that person is. So that's kind of fun. The other thing I'll turn on here is enhanced inked shapes. This will make it so if I don't turn it on, and then I go here and I draw like a square, and you can kind of see like I'm not very good at drawing with my mouse, so it did kind of a wonky little square right there. If I turn on enhanced ink shapes and now I do a square, it's going to recognize that as a square, and it turned it into this nice clean line square right here. So you probably will want to turn that on as well if you have people using their mouse to do their drawing. So anything you want to add to this experience, Andy? As I'm kind of talking and
Check
moving
mark.
stuff around on the screen. You
No,
think I covered it,
one
huh?
thing I think it's kind of neat and it's a little overlooked as we were going through and we were doing that. We both have an undo button, and I was curious when this rolled out what if the undo was going to be
Mm,
for me or for you, or how that was going to work in a collaborative environment. And it's very much on
hmm.
me. When I undo, it only undoes the things that I've done, and when you undo, it does the things you done. So there's no
Okay,
overlap
yeah.
there. I was curious how they were going to handle that.
Okay, so you can't undo my stuff. You have like your own undo history and my own undo history, and we don't step on each other. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's
Now I
that's
can't
pretty
erase.
smart.
I can erase your stuff, which is a little different. But, like, I
Okay.
can't hit the undo button and, like, undo
Hmm.
something that you've
Okay.
already put on there.
So you erased my box, and if I hit undo, it doesn't undo your erasure. It undid my little heart that I put up in the upper
Right.
corner. So if I redo, there's my heart. So everybody has their own history of actions.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I bet nobody's talked about that yet. That's one of those it's one of those deep dive nuances that we provide.
Yeah,
Okay,
you were
well that's
doing the ink
interesting.
to shape, and I'm like, "I wonder what happens if I hit undo right here." So I just clicked it, and it just undid what I
Yeah.
did, which is pretty neat, but the eraser does transfer over, so that's good to know.
I could see where that would cause chaos. Could you imagine like drawing something and then some butthead kid in your class as your teacher is just like undoing everything that you try to draw? I
They're over
imagine
there
that
pulling
in
a
the
Matt Hardy,
education
"Delete,
space,
delete, delete."
yeah, I imagine in the education space, they probably found that bug really quickly. Of course, in that case, you would just say only I can annotate. And then now I'm the only one I'm in charge saying, like, all right, I want to highlight this June thing. I want to highlight this button by drawing, a highlighter over the new meeting button. And I can see your cursor, but I imagine all the stuff is grayed out for you. So you can't actually annotate
Actually,
until I click everyone can annotate.
let's switch over and I'll show my screen.
Yeah, let's see what it looks like for you. Okay,
Alright,
cool.
so
You're up there. Now, I've set it so that everybody can annotate right now, so you have
right,
access to do this.
yep.
Now, I'm gonna say only I can annotate. Okay, and what does that ribbon say up there? It's a little bit small for me.
It says read only. You can only view annotations. To make any
Okay.
changes, ask the owner for full access.
Okay, well, that's good. I think one bit of feedback that I've got right off the bat as I look at what your screen looks like here is that what I see, let me turn on your annotations again. When you have the ability to annotate, you now have 2 toolbars because you see my toolbar too.
Yeah, I see
So
yours and mine.
that's kind of an interesting thing that like uh that I feel like if Microsoft could make my toolbar transparent to the people who are viewing my screen, that would be ideal. That way you don't see my toolbar and you try to click the wrong thing. I could see that being a challenge. Although
Yeah.
I also see that you're seeing my little preview window right here, that little
Mhm.
black box. That should be transparent for you. But I've noticed when I RDP to Windows machines, sometimes that isn't transparent to the
Yeah.
user. So it's probably just a weird RDP thing.
So let's test that the other way. Let me share my screen, like my
Okay.
desktop,
Yeah.
and annotate. And I'm just going to share like just my desktop, and let's see how it comes through on your end.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do that.
All right. So I'm just sharing my screen,
Hmm. And something
and
I've noticed is you got to give it a little bit of time to show that little pencil icon. It took a few seconds for Megan to see it. Although now I'm not seeing it on your screen.
So I
You
am a
think it's an
guest
external access thing?
in your meeting.
You think that's what it is? It's because like cross network guest access?
Yeah, I think we're going
Okay.
cross tenants, and I am a guest in your meeting. So when you turned it on, it enabled
Okay.
me to be able to use it. But when I go and just try to share from my end, I don't necessarily see it.
And that would make sense because you don't have access to my tenant's whiteboard environment, right? So that would make sense to me that you wouldn't be able to annotate. Um, hmm, interesting. Yeah, I wonder the way we could prove that is if you go from your upskills tech and you want to invite Megan Bowen to the meeting, we could have it where you host and see if I can annotate, and I probably won't be able to.
Yeah, we
That
can
would
try
confirm that.
traverse it in reverse.
Yeah. Do you need Megan's email address?
If you'll just send it to me in the private chat,
Yeah, let
I'll
me get that for you.
schedule a meeting over here. I'm going to leave this one and go ahead and switch over.
Okay. Yeah. So here's Megan's account info. I'm dropping that in the chat for you. Boom. Okay. And then back over here to my notes. There we go. So yeah, we'll have to check that out. Now while Andy is doing that, sending me an invitation as Megan, I'm going to show you like where this is actually stored. This is kind of an interesting thing that we noticed is that when I go here and I share my screen and I go turn on annotations again, check this out. When you turn them on, it's going to load that whiteboard and all the annotations pop back in here. So, well, did they not? What? Okay, so in our testing, that worked a little bit differently. Unless maybe I cleared the annotations before I closed it. But what I noticed was that the annotations they came back when I went from session to session, even if I closed the meeting and then came back into it. And what we found is that it actually created a whiteboard that was persistent and would like re-show again. So we'll have to test that out. Maybe that was just a fluke the other day, or maybe I cleared the annotations. I can't remember. But if I go here and I start another whiteboard, I click on like Microsoft Whiteboard. This is just the traditional way of doing a whiteboard inside of a meeting. So I've got, this. I'm going to do a big star so we can see which is which. So I made a star in a whiteboard called Annotation Demo. And then I'm going to end this meeting. I'm going to kick everybody out of it. And then what I found is that if I went over here as Contoso, so I'm going to have to get to this as Megan. If I edit this and go to the whiteboard tab right here, so we're going to pop over here into whiteboard. What loads is that star. So that's the whiteboard that I made that had the white background. It was just a traditional whiteboard. But whenever I've gone, I wonder if I can view this from the web here instead. Open in app. I don't really want to do that. Yeah, because that's not going to, I want to get to the browser. So let me log in as Megan real quick. Browse as a guest. And we'll go to office.com. What I noticed is it creates two whiteboards. So you can go back and get those annotations without the screen in the background, but it saves all of those annotations that were done whenever you closed out the meeting. So yeah, let me get Megan's information here. Oh, there it is. Pasted that. Oh yeah, I'll have to copy her password here real quick. All right, everybody close your eyes. As I type a password on YouTube. All right, so as Megan gets in, she's got access to her office environment. She'll go in here to whiteboard, and we'll see what whiteboards were created out of this particular meeting. So there's whiteboard. Yes, I'm logged in as Megan. Thank you for the extra authentication. And see, there's two of them there. Actually, there's three has been created. So there's that one that's the star. That's the one that's attached to the meeting. These other one was whenever we were doing the whiteboarding session. in there. So if I go back into the meeting and we back out of this right here, and then I join that meeting and I'll draw some annotations and I'll not clear them this time. I'll leave them on the shared screen. Then what I notice is it actually saves those annotations into a whiteboard for me. So we're starting a new session. I'm going to draw a big smiley face and add a circle to this for some reason. And we'll make it like a green circle. And then I will get out of this meeting again. And then if we refresh this, hopefully we'll see that it changed. Well, it's not showing the edited. It should show edited 129, but I believe it's this board here would show that annotation. But yeah, I'm not seeing it right now. So apparently it's not doing that. We'll have to explore that again, Andy.
Yeah.
If you want. So you've added me to a meeting that I'll join. Let's see if there's any questions here before we switch back to the other meeting. So Tomislav was saying, interesting features in preview. Is it easy to use or more of a techie feature? It seems annotations were recorded in the Teams meeting recording. That's something we should explore, Andy, is I would assume it's recorded in the Teams meeting recording, right? Because it's just a screen share with a whiteboarding session. Have you tested that?
I've not tested that. That's something that we should do.
Okay.
My assumption is going to be no, because it's based off the whiteboard feature. So I think it's going to end up just like the whiteboard inside of a meeting. Currently, it's not going to be recorded.
We'll test that out, man. So when we do your meeting, you will record it and we'll see if it plays back the annotations.
Okay.
So Lance Yoder's here. This is my former Cerner colleagues are coming in. Lance Yoder and Spencer Vincent are friends of mine that I worked with at Cerner. They've moved to Microsoft now. So we've got some Microsoft folks in the crowd here. Yeah, dude, I use portal.office.com all the time. But yeah, I know office.com is enough. I always use Portal for some reason as well. So let's join your meeting now and see what it looks like. I can turn off my camera. Are you in your meeting already?
I am.
Yeah, you are. So I'm going to flip. There's Andy's screen. Megan Bowen has joined. And he's going to start whiteboarding on his screen, doing a screen annotation.
So just go just on my desktop.
Mm-hmm.
And
Daryl has a good point here. He said, I thought that you said that you'd have to screenshot it to save them. Yeah, like traditionally that's what I think you got to do. I wish they had a save button somewhere in that toolbar. So it would like take a snapshot and put it in the chat. But yeah, for right now, that's my best practice. I don't know if anybody in the chat has a better idea for how to save these types of annotations.
I got you covered coming up.
Cool. So Andy's in here. You're not seeing the annotations?
No, I'm not. And I am in public preview.
What in the world?
Yeah.
Huh.
So
okay, I'm going to steal the screen.
Yeah.
And we're going to see
log out
about
log
guest
back
access. In. Okay, sure. All right. So I stole the screen. And as suspected, I'm a guest in Andy's tenant. So I'm external to Andy's meeting. Therefore, I do not have the annotate screen. So they got to be like in the same network, in the same Azure AD tenant, not a guest, because I don't have access to my own. I don't have my own whiteboard account in Andy's tenant. I have it in my tenant in Contoso. So yeah, we'll see when Andy reboots Teams here. Hopefully he gets that button back. Did you have public preview turned on, Andy?
I do.
Okay, so you've got the little P icon. Cool.
Yes.
Just double checking, because I found Megan, whenever I opened up her Teams today, she wasn't in public preview. So that's why I flipped it on real quick. Okay, so I'm seeing Andy's screen now. Let's show you on the stream. Gotta get that tricky toolbar back up.
Yeah, it's not showing.
Dude, weird.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's double check.
I see the little flag for you.
Yeah, public
Yeah,
preview.
and you've
All
got
right.
public preview turned on.
So
Okay. I guess we'll go back to Megan's
let's turn it
environment then.
off and turn it back on.
Yeah. Interesting.
And this was there during our testing on Tuesday.
Yeah, we were trying this out just 2 days ago. We also had noticed 2 days ago that the annotations were persistent, but apparently that's not doing it right now.
All right. Back
Live
to-
demos, that's part of the value.
Well, we said we were going to try and break something, so we're doing a pretty good
Yeah.
job of that.
All right, so Andy's joining again here. Fingers crossed. Yeah, I see the view switcher. That's a public preview thing. Yeah, but it's not showing the little pencil icon.
Yeah. That is very
Weird.
curious.
Huh. Okay. Well, I guess we'll demo for my tenant then if that sounds good.
Yeah, that's
Do you
fine.
have content capture? If you click the share button, did you have content capture?
No.
You don't. Okay. All right. Well, we'll jump back into the Contoso meeting then instead. And I'll show that. And we'll try recording and see if it's recorded inside the meeting. Okay, so I'm in here. We'll see when Andy joins, if he decides to join as well. And I'm going to share my screen.
I'll be there
I'm
in
gonna
just
go
a
up here
minute.
to the
I'm going to run an
top
update
again.
on Teams and see what happens.
Oh, okay. That sounds good. So I'm going to annotate, and the annotations have started. That's great. I'm actually going to go ahead and add a nice big thumbs up emoji. So everybody who's watching, this emoji, this reaction was there before I pressed the record button. Okay. So everybody take note of that. Now we're going to go into the meeting and we're going to start recording, and we're going to see what this thing looks like on the other end. Oh, can I not click the button? Is it too close to my toolbar? Oh, weird. If you double click, it went away. Does that happen on all of them? So if I draw a big circle, I draw a scribble, I scribble on Megan's face, double click. Nope. Go back to the select icon, double click. Whoa, it zoomed in. Okay. So I don't think it was disappearing. I think it was zooming in and out when you double click. So I double click, it zooms in, double click, it zooms out, and I can select the shapes and move them around on the screen. So that's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to stop annotating so that I can go record this meeting here. Yeah, go ahead. All right, so annotations. Now I can click in here. I'm going to start recording. So we're recording this meeting. We go in here and we start annotations again. And all my stuff went away. So that was something that wasn't happening the other day. And I'm going to switch over here to the rainbow one, and we're going to draw a rainbow circle around Megan. We're going to do some scribbles. This is my favorite pen. I think it's really cool. A little like a rainbow. And there's another one that's galaxy. If you do that one, then it's like stars in the background. They're kind of close, but a little bit different. And then we'll add we'll do hands clapping this time. We'll add some reactions around here on the screen and just kind of put those out. And then we will stop recording. So let's go back in here, and I'll actually just stop presenting altogether, and we'll stop recording, and then we'll see what happens if it took that, if it basically like flattens out that annotation on top of the recording. We'll see what it looks like here in a second. Okay, so it's saving the recording right now. And pretty soon we'll be able to watch that back and see what it did. Okay, so the recording's already ready, which that was really fast, by the way, for it to bring that up. So we're gonna go watch the recording now. Did that work? Oh, here. Let's go back in here. Let's copy it because remember my Edge browser is not logged in as Megan Bowen, so I got to like go do a guest mode thing here. There we go. So we're gonna log in as Megan here again. So back over here to MVP stuff. There's Megan's account. Boom. And for the next one of these, I'll have to add Megan as a profile. That way I don't have to keep logging in. Or I'll just keep this browser session open. So we are in Megan's OneDrive watching the recording. And by the way, meaning recordings expire. We're going to turn that on and see what happens. So in the recording, I'm going back. I'm sharing the screen. I turned on annotations. So you see that pop up. And then I'm thinking it's going to show here because I see that toolbar. There we go. So we've answered that question. If you want one way that you can like, kind of play back what was annotated when and have like, you could stop this at this point. So like she marks up the screen, she adds a couple emojis. I could stop this. I could go ahead and take a screenshot of it and then I'll be good to go. So, which actually that that came up with something else, but let me turn that on so I can copy and paste my Logi options. So you could take a screenshot of this in its own state, or you could send the recording to somebody and get those annotations as they happen. So I think that's a really cool feature. Now, what's coming later on, whenever you're able to enhance this video, is maybe you'd be able to, put a place in time, or send a marker to that video at that point in time to say, here's where we annotated the screen. So yeah, so Daryl, we discovered something together that annotations are recorded. That's really good to know. That would probably be a best practice recommendation would be record your meeting. One, because if somebody can't make it, they'll be able to watch the recording. It's more accessible. And two, if you annotate the screen, record that meeting. And now you don't have to worry about if you forgot to take a screenshot before you stop sharing your screen. So that's really good. Um, Daryl says, yeah, confirmed in the message center notes, which by the way, if you don't already, Daryl and Daniel Glenn have a message center show that they do every Monday afternoon US time. And they go over all of these message center messages and what they mean for administrators. But he says that they put in the message that, hey, exporting is not available at this time. Microsoft recommends that you take a screenshot to save it before you stop sharing your screen. So yeah, and then you can clip a photo of it. So Andy, did you get updated?
So it's still not showing up. I've
Okay.
updated. I've tried
Weird.
both my Apple and my Windows device, and it is
Okay.
not showing up for me in either one of them now. So I don't know what is
Oh,
going on
dang,
there.
that's a bummer.
That's two separate user accounts that it's not showing up for.
Hmm.
I do want to take a
That's
brief
crazy.
segue. I am curious
Okay.
about this. So it just
Yeah, man.
recorded the annotation. So share your whiteboard
Hmm.
and start recording. And I want to see if that by any chance has
Oh,
been
if that
updated.
shows up. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I doubt that that's going to show because I think we've confirmed in the past that that's some special object that doesn't get recorded. But yeah, so I'm recording again. You see that it turned on. And then I'm going to share a whiteboard into the meeting. And then we can also do content camera because I have that available as well if you want. So there's that whiteboard. There's that star that I did. Now I'm going to do some galaxy scribbles over here. And what are you seeing on your side? You're seeing
I'm
this.
a
Hey, a
guest.
whiteboard is in progress. You're a guest. You're not allowed to do this. It's
So you can
interesting, Andy,
audibly paint
that
me a pretty picture. Imagine, if you
yeah,
will, a squiggly line in multicolors with a gradient.
yeah, I'll do an interpretive dance while I'm trying to draw on the whiteboard that you can't see.
We only have
Um,
happy little accidents.
yeah. It's interesting though that you can annotate with me, but you can't whiteboard with me,
Yep.
but it's the same platform, right? It's
Yep.
Microsoft Whiteboard is the tooling. So that's kind of interesting as well that like there must be my only guess is that like my tenant is not turned on for whiteboard in OneDrive, right? Like that change that you can do early and you can like store your whiteboards in OneDrive. Then you would be able to to whiteboard with me. But I wonder if the screen annotations are stored in whiteboard maybe. So you are able to draw with me. That I wonder if later on, if somebody like Ian Micatel, if that's how you pronounce his last name, um, if somebody like from the whiteboard team like him is watching, it would be really interesting to hear some insight into that. Like, is it stored in a different place than the regular whiteboard, or what? So, I've been recording for a while. Let me stop recording. And oh, I'm such an idiot. I closed my browser again. All right, everybody, let's set up a profile. You should see how to do this. So, I'm tired of logging in as Megan every time. So I made a new profile in Edge. I'm going to now add Megan. I'm going to log into her account so that I can just be Megan or I can be John and I can switch profiles. If you're an administrator that has like a separate Office 365 account, or if you're like us, like you're in consulting or you do demos, education. Oh my gosh, does not exist. Come on now. Come on, Megan. If you're a demo person, this is like a killer feature to be able to do this. Okay. So now it says Contoso. Oh, why did it fail out? Maybe there's like Intunes messing with me or something. Whatever. I'm gonna go to portal.office.com just to make Thomas Love's head explode. Oh yeah, we're looking at. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Pete. I appreciate it.
I thought
So,
you were purposely keeping it off the screen. That's the reason I didn't say anything.
no, I wasn't. I was.
I thought you were
I
painting a
was
pretty
trying to be
picture.
slick. Yeah, no, I was. I'm trying to log in as Megan because we're gonna go look at that second recording and see if whiteboard is there. No, don't ask me again. Yes, stay signed in forever and ever. Okay. So there's screen annotation demo number 1. You can see on my screen there's that little rainbow circle, right? So that's the annotations. This is the other one that had me whiteboarding. I bet you, Andy, this is not going to show the whiteboard unless something has changed. I don't think it has. Okay, so this would be when I was going in and whiteboarding. Yeah, so again, we're painting a pretty picture with our words because we don't see the whiteboard recorded. So annotations record, whiteboards do not. And I'm going to not close that window. I'm going to minimize that window so I don't have to log in again every stupid time it makes me do it. Okay, so that's interesting, Andy. There's a little bit of nuance there, like screen annotations do it, but the other ones don't. Daryl has a good point here in the chat where this would be great for support as well. So like if we pretend that we're doing this, so Andy is the support technician, right? And I'm Megan, I'm having trouble with my computer. He says, "Hey, can you share your screen?" So I go share my screen here and turn on annotations. Now, I could be going around here and I could say like, "I'm having trouble with this, this join button. What do I do? And if Andy's trying to get me to see something on screen, then he could draw and say, "Oh no, you want to go over to the calendar." So he could like take his cursor, he could circle like the calendar button for me and say, "Hey dummy, go over here instead." Oh, okay. Well, now I see what you're talking about. And then I could like go over to the calendar and talk about it there. So that's an interesting concept, Daryl, except I don't know if you noticed, I can't click. It's not interactive. So it would be of limited use for a support thing because of that reason, right? That I can't actually interact with my computer right now.
But if you're in the same tenant
Well, no, I
and you
can.
annotate, and then you've got the request control if you're both in Teams desktop.
Mhm. So this is weird. I can move this around on my screen and I can like open up a browser. So that works. So I can kind of interact with my computer, but not really, right? Like I'm clicking right now on my Teams window and I can't move it around on the screen.
Because you're locked in the
I can't.
annotation layer.
Yeah, it's like I'm locked in that layer, but I can mess around with other things.
Yeah.
So like this apparently is not in the annotation layer. And the taskbar is not in the annotation layer, apparently. And I can open up my
John,
browser,
you've got to
but I
think
can't do that.
three-dimensionally. These things are layered one on
I
top of another, and the
guess.
Teams thing is layered way on the top, and the annotation layer is like probably just right under that.
Yeah. Yeah. So apparently, yeah, there must be layers here or something. Layers of screenshots. That's what, that's what Daryl says. Okay, well, so that's interesting. Yeah, like it you're gonna have limited if you're like an IT person watching this, heads up that might cause some like user confusion. You might instruct people to what I see happening a lot in this type of scenario is I would see this being really valuable for like annotating mockups or annotating like slide decks. So let's try that scenario here is say that like you're in Megan's account and Megan's got like this proposal that she's working on, right? We've got this proposal and she wants to know, what do you guys think about this slide? So what we would do theoretically is we would say turn on annotations and then everybody would be able to go on here and say like, parties is spelled wrong, or they could add a note and John adds a green note that says, move the red box, the red shape over 10 pixels, right? So we're kind of like talking about what we're going to do with this thing, right? And Andy's adding a note over on his side about something that's wrong with the slide, needs more azure blue. So then I could go in and I could upvote that, or I could say that I love that. So you can upvote things and do this annotation. If you're recording this again, you would have this all recorded, which is really cool. But because that's in that weird, like it's behind the annotation layer, it's not letting me move around or make those changes while people are annotating. So that's kind of a weird nuance. Yes, thinking reaction emoji. That's strange. Um, so,
Hey,
and then again,
look
I
at
would want
this.
to say, great feedback, take a screenshot, and then save that in a OneNote or something like that.
All
What were
right,
you going to
look at
say, Andy?
my screen right now. Look at this.
Okay, yeah, let's flip it. There you go.
This is what I'm seeing right now.
Whoa.
It's doubled up on all the annotations.
Okay.
Public preview.
That's interesting. Yeah.
We found a bug.
Yeah, that's weird. Huh.
So, like,
Now, while this is
move
live on
something
my
on your
screen,
screen.
move something on my screen.
Yeah,
Okay.
just
So I moved your box over. It moved both of them. Check that out. Huh. Okay. Yeah. So maybe a little bit more that could be done before GA on this one. And I can change the outline here. I can make that a blue line. And you see that popped up on your side. I really like the collaborative cursors, man. Those are really, really like
Yeah.
live because I'm moving around. It's maybe only like a second delayed from where I'm moving my mouse. Because like I'm gonna move it right now. Yeah, it's like a second delayed. That's not too bad. So yeah, Daryl says, so you can't annotate to support teams. Well, yeah, it seems Daryl like everything above the taskbar you can't use. So that's kind of what I'm noticing. And I kind of wonder if I can move this guy on screen because that's above the annotation layer. So it's like on top of the annotations. If I let me flip my monitor. There we go. So now you're looking at my screen. If I take this and move it, it's on top of that post-it note. It's on top of the green post-it note. So it must be that like the PowerPoint is behind the canvas, right? And it must be that the canvas doesn't extend down to the taskbar. Maybe. So if I draw a line, I'm gonna draw a red line all the way down. Oh yeah, look at that. It stopped at the taskbar.
It's
So I'm
somebody from Microsoft can feel free to correct me on this, but it's
yeah,
like
I'm
they've
doing
taken
squigglies.
whiteboard and they've just turned the transparency on the canvas, the alpha. They've just
Mhm,
turned the transparency on for that, so you're able to see the objects in behind it, and you get the control
mhm.
panel at the top. But like you're saying, it just extends within
Yeah.
to the taskbar.
Yeah, so, like, if I click on the taskbar itself or I clicked here and it says taskbar settings. Okay, there we go.
All right, now
What
once
if I
again,
hide my taskbar?
switch
Oh,
back to
I
my
can't do
screen.
that.
Look at this.
Yeah. Is it looking, like, super crazy?
Oh, all right.
That
So
looks normal.
no, on my screen,
Wait,
you're in the taskbar. Like it, I don't know why it's
there we
not
go.
showing it. There it is. See it?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's
Yeah, it
doubling
went down into
everything.
the taskbar.
Oh, it did, but on me, yeah, my taskbar is on top of the annotation layer. So, like, it's only annotating from, like, the top of the screen to the top of the
Right.
taskbar, and you can see this is gonna be really hard to see probably, but you can see, like, I've got a red dot right here. As I move down to the taskbar, it changes to a white cursor. Red dot, white cursor. So, like, your annotations, they end at the taskbar. So, that's interesting. I wonder what it does on a Mac, if it goes all the way down or if it goes down to just the dock, but okay. And if I turn off annotations and turn them back on, we're probably gonna lose everything, right? Even though the other day it wasn't losing it, which I prefer if they would be, persistent, right? So it's loading up annotations and they're blank. So yeah, I lost all those annotations that we did. So that's an important thing is like if you want to be careful, take a screenshot before you stop annotating. Before you stop annotating, you stop sharing your screen. Of course, before you click the trash can and clear annotations, take a screenshot. Interesting. Okay. All right. So what other thing did you want to look at, Andy? You were talking about using your touch screen to be able to draw with a stylus. Did you want to show that? Or
So
are you set up for that?
let me.
Or before we did that, did you want to try content camera and see if that is recorded? I think that's recorded live because it's just a camera feed, right?
Yeah, let's come back to that one. Let me switch over.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start from my
Hmm.
iPad. Let me share
Yeah.
that.
As Pete says, I feel like that's the feedback to Microsoft, right? Is it would be nice if like up here in the toolbar somewhere, if there was like a save button or a screen cap button. If I were designing it, like my user story would be, it would be great if I could save the annotation and if it would put that screenshot in the chat and share it with everybody already. Like that's what I would want ultimately. I wouldn't want just, oh, take a screenshot. Take a screenshot and go ahead and put it in the chat. That way everybody sees it. Because that would be the equivalent of standing up and taking a picture of a whiteboard and then emailing it to everybody in the meeting, which is a bunch of manual work. I'd rather have that automated.
All right, give me just a second.
I mean, I guess there might be some people who wouldn't want to send it to the chat, but I think that would be the edge case rather than the people who would want to share with other people. Yeah, so you're bringing this up on mobile device, see if it works on mobile.
I am.
Cool. The other thing to test, Andy, is what if I'm in private preview or public preview, so I'm whiteboarding, doing annotations, and your client, if you turn off public preview, are you still able to participate, or do all parties need to be in public preview? That would be a good question to answer too. That's an interesting point from Daryl. It'd be nice if it screenshotted and put it on a whiteboard. Then you could keep annotating the whiteboard after the fact. That would be an interesting way to do it. And then you would also have like the whiteboard sharing permissions. If you decided not to share the whiteboard, it wouldn't be shared with people. If you're not set up to share across tenants in whiteboard, you wouldn't accidentally expose that to the guests. That would be a way to do it.
All right.
There we go.
So let's join here. So this is my iPad we're seeing.
Cool. Yeah. And I'm annotating, so I'm going to circle the relationship word. And I'm only seeing one toolbar for you, Andy.
Yeah.
So I guess you probably don't have a capability to do this.
Just looking at the settings. No, I'm not seeing anything. So I'm curious, what if I go in to share
your screen, like take it over or something?
Yeah. And there are no controls on my end for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was curious to see how that was going to play out.
Yeah, so you can watch, which is good. You can at least see it, but yeah, you can't participate from your iPad. At least not today.
Oh, but it looks like it's there.
It looks like you could tap that, but you're actually seeing the toolbar on my screen.
Yeah, and it makes it look like I can interact with it, but alas.
Yeah, it's like big enough that it looks like you can, but you can't because I'm doing that emoji right now. Okay. Dang. Okay, so it doesn't work on the mobile device. What about the web? If you join from the web, I assume you're not going to be able to participate either.
All right.
But that would be good to verify.
Do that. So let me switch up my screen share again.
Okay.
All right. I'm back in desktop. Let's leave here.
Okay. Then yeah, you have to I guess copy the join link.
Hold on. Where? This is like getting really crazy confusing right now. I have so many windows open, like to try and test all this stuff. Like,
Yeah. Oh, and while you're doing that, I'm gonna try joining from the MTR that's in my office. Actually, I can't because I'm locked into annotating. We'll wait.
all right.
Okay. So you're joining from the web. And my screen pops up.
Yep.
I'm annotating right now, drawing a squiggly line, and you see it in real time, so that's good.
Yep.
But yeah, you don't have a toolbar on your web client in order
No.
to participate, which makes sense. Okay, so it doesn't work on web, it doesn't work on mobile. The other thing for you would be can you join from not private preview? So like turn that checkbox off, restart Teams, and then can you still participate even though you're like a Ring 4 normal person?
All right. So
And
let's
what I'll
switch that
do is
over.
I'm gonna try joining this from my MTR. I don't know if this is gonna work or not. So John at collabmore.com. Request to join. Let's see if it rings my. It is. Okay. Okay, there we go. So I'm back. If I'm on my MTR right now, and I'm going to change my camera over so you guys can see this. So I got a new camera. There it is. It's called the ObsBot camera. There we go. So if I do this, it will track me, which is really cool. If I move around, then it follows me. But I have these presets. So I have one preset where I can hit MTR, and I've put the meeting over on that screen over there. So you can see back on that board, it's a little bit, too bright. But if I turn on annotations, then you can see back there, there's that toolbar, and I'm drawing, you see that big red squiggly line. If I walk over to it though, I don't think there's any controls in order to see that. So I'm going to switch my microphone also for you guys over to the. All right, can you hear me, Andy?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm over here at the neat board, and I don't have the ability to tap on. I can zoom in on it, but I don't have the ability to draw on from an MTR. I can share a whiteboard. I can start recording, change background. So yeah, there's no like annotating from this board. That would be another nice feature if like, so it's missing on like iPad. I could see you being wanting to annotate from an iPad because you have a stylus. It'd be great if you could annotate from MTR on Android. I don't have access to a Surface Hub, but it would be great if you could annotate on a Surface Hub. That might be more likely that it might work on a Surface Hub because that's a Windows experience. If anybody who's watching or watching this on demand, if you test this out at some point and you do it from a Surface Hub and a Windows and Mac laptop, let me know in the comments after the fact on YouTube. Let me know if that worked on a Surface Hub device or if you had a Windows MTR and you had a touch screen attached to it. It would be interesting to see if that worked. Now, if I tap on this though and share a whiteboard, what happens over on my other screen? So I've got a whiteboard on the MTR. There we go. So it started the whiteboard in Megan's tenant, but because this is in its own tenant, I'm not able to actually see the whiteboard. But if I bring up my screen again here, if I bring up my screen, you'll see that the whiteboard started in Megan's tenant, and it still has the star and the squiggly. Like it's a persistent whiteboard attached to the meeting, even though we left and rejoined the meeting later on. So, but that's another test case or another device case is, hey, does it work from an MTR? At this time, it doesn't currently. So I'm going to flip my camera back. That worked out pretty well. I like being able to, demo from somewhere else in my room.
Need to set you up a secondary mic.
Yeah, because it probably sounds a lot better now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I switched back to this one. Did it sound like pretty hollow or something?
There was some noise and interference.
Oh, some background noise.
A
Yeah.
little garbled.
As I was walking away, I was probably getting far away from my receiver, my USB receiver. Okay. Okay. So did you switch out of private preview?
I
or
did.
Public preview by chance?
Yep.
Okay.
And I
Let's-
annotated on your annotation.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay.
I was able, outside of public preview, I was able to participate in the annotation as non-public preview.
Okay, so the base code was there. The ability to show the whiteboard toolbar was there. Okay, yeah. So you're annotating inside of this this experience. I'm annotating. I'm drawing red circles right now. So that's good to know is if the person is using the desktop app for Microsoft Teams, you don't have to have everybody in your whole company in public preview. Just the person who starts the annotation, who wants that little toolbar pencil icon, that person needs to be in public preview today until it's a GA, obviously. But other people can participate. That's pretty cool. Then you can give, you can give people access to this cool feature. You can show it off without giving them full preview rights. I like that. I can make this bigger and smaller. Okay, so we've narrowed down then. If we just annotate this screen here real quick, we've narrowed this down to, I'm going to put a sticky note on the screen and make it huge. Desktop app, public preview, desktop non-public preview, mobile, web, MTR-A, so MTR on Android, because that's what I have access to. So if we look at all of these, we've got a green check mark for the desktop experience on public preview. You can do that. I'll copy this and paste it. There we go. Actually, that works. So I was able to do a copy, click the copy icon, and then I was able to Control V, paste it. So you can do it desktop if you're not public preview, but unfortunately, it's not available on mobile. Copy and paste. It's not available on web. And as of today, not available on MTR-A. The question is, what about MTR-W? What about Surface Hub? Any other use cases that you could think of, Andy?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Yeah. So those are, do I have a question mark? I do have a question mark icon. That's cool. So there we go. I feel like I'm doing a terrible job. Like if you want to see somebody who knows how to whiteboard well, it's Daryl Webster. He is really good at whiteboarding. He's got a whiteboard in his office. doing content capture and stuff. I'm terrible at it. But hopefully this at least gives you guys some notes for the desktop experience is pretty solid, between the different platforms, public preview, not public preview. But when you start getting to mobile, web, MTR, those specialized devices, not available yet, which isn't really a surprise to me, to be honest, because those are kind of outlier. They'll do it on the desktop first and then they'll work to bring it in other places. Would make a lot of sense. Okay. So yeah, we've covered the devices, all the different device categories, and where this thing might or might not work. I would say if I were to prioritize what I want this to work on, I would say desktop, of course, is number one for me. I would say mobile, at least on iPad, like because so many people have iPads, so many people would want to draw on a tablet or on the phone. After that, I would say I'm torn. I kind of would say I would prioritize like MTR experiences just because hybrid work is so prevalent right now and so popular, people going back into the office, and a lot of companies are making large investments in enhancing their conference room functionality. And it would be a great win if you were able to like annotate, in both places. Um, but like it would be really nice if these new category of devices, these boards, were able to annotate. Then probably the web, um, then maybe VDI or something like that. VDI typically tends to be like the last thing that gets a feature. So, so Daryl has a question here. Are you able to save a screenshot to your clipboard, then annotate, then paste your clipboard onto the annotated screen? There's some inception. So let's try that, Daryl. Um, so let me go to the snipping tool here. Snipping tool. So I'm gonna try. Oh, Daryl, I can't do it because it's behind the annotation layer now. See, it's behind the thing. What's the keyboard shortcut for doing a screenshot in snipping tool? I don't know it because I'm a Mac user. I can do so. This is from my Mac. I can take a screenshot of this area of the screen. It copied it to my clipboard, and then I'll paste it. Yeah, but I'm going to another operating system, so it didn't paste. I don't know if you know, Andy, like how I don't have a print screen button on this little tiny keyboard.
Daryl's saying to turn off annotation first. Win Shift S.
Win Shift S. Okay. All right. So yeah, let's turn off, or I'll just stop annotating. I'll draw a shape, and we're going to take a screenshot of this PowerPoint area right there. So there's that. I'm going to copy that to my clipboard, and then I'm going to start annotating the screen. And it wiped out all my annotations. That really bums me out because when we were testing this earlier, the annotations came back where they were. Microsoft, if you're watching, I would like for that to be persistent. I feel like you should get out of annotations, get back in, and it should be the same layer, in my opinion. So I'm doing some annotations, drawing a smiley face. I'm going to paste, and you know what, Daryl? It did paste. But check this out. It pasted in that graphic, but look at that. It made everything smaller. So now everything's not lined up where it was before. That's zooming in and out. Now I'm like zoomed in too far. Oh, there we go. And if I do, no, that's zooming out the whole whiteboard experience. I was doing control minus and control plus, but you saw the toolbar went big and small, so that's not good. But yeah, dude. So it looks like you are able to do a paste something from your clipboard into that screen annotation layer. And Daryl was very excited about that. And yes, zooming is strange. Zooming as well as the platform Zoom are both strange to me. Okay. What does this thing say? Oh, sorry, you're waiting in the lobby, Andy.
Back and forth I go.
Oh man,
Public
I can't
preview. The
I
public
can't let
preview
you
just
in.
worked on my other tenant user, and I was able to get in. But
Okay.
because it was in a virtual machine, it said that annotation was not
Mm-hmm.
supported there on this device.
Oh.
So now I'm coming back to your meeting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't have high hopes on this. No.
Daryl. Dad jokes. I have seen Stranger Things as well, Daryl. Yeah, I don't know what's going on that you're not able to
Yeah.
get in a good state where you can annotate. It seems a little bit hit or miss right now.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And it was there on Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay. Um so I'm trying to go through my notes here, right? So I'm just going to put those up on screen. So we've tested a few things out. We've got we checked out the public preview stuff. We checked out the web, the mobile. What about MTR boards? That's not available currently. Um, some nuances that we've noticed. One of these that we noticed when we were testing, Andy, is if I get out of this meeting, I'm going to close out of it. Whoops, my doc came over. I'm going to close out of it. I'm going to go back in and do a meet now instead. So that was a scheduled meeting. We've been doing this in a scheduled meeting, but instead we're going to click meet now. And if I start that meeting, what I found is that the annotations are not available to me in an ad hoc meeting. So we go over, we share the screen. Nope, it's available to me now. So that's another thing that we were checking out, Andy, that is working for me now that wasn't working on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I'm able to annotate in a meet now.
And that's where I had been testing it. So
Mhm.
that's interesting that I don't
It
have
wasn't working the other day.
the annotation tool right now, but you do, and it's showing up on in the meet now.
Yeah. Yeah, let us know in the chat if you guys have tested that out as well. If you've seen it not work in Meet now, but in scheduled meetings. That's how it was working for me earlier. But now it appears that it works in a Meet now. So yeah, how to save the annotation back to the meeting. It'd be nice if they had a button for it. Again, we keep reiterating this. Microsoft's recommendation is to take a screenshot. I probably would take a screenshot and I would personally paste it into the chat. That way everybody can see it. This is not true right now. The fact that annotations are persistent across sessions. That's how it was working earlier just this week.
Yeah, on Tuesday.
But we've noticed that they're not persistent even in the same meeting, in the same session of the meeting. If you go out of it and you go back in, it's been clearing my annotations out. So my recommendation, take a screenshot. If you're uncertain about what it's going to do, take a screenshot, which Daryl has said on Windows, that's Win Shift S if you're on a Windows machine. So keep that handy. Annotations are saved in the whiteboard account. So we did take a look at that where it's created multiple whiteboards within my account. But that's where earlier this week it was saving in those whiteboards. It's not saving now. Those are empty whiteboards, but on a back end level, that's what's happening is it's creating a whiteboard when you click the annotate button. It's spinning up a new whiteboard so that you can have that drawing session. So, Andy, you want to talk any about Office Lens that you had in the notes, or other ways that
Yeah.
we've done annotations?
So when we tested this the other day, we were able to annotate, leave the annotation, leave the meeting, go to whiteboard, find the annotated file in there, access it, go back to the meeting and access the same file. Seems the
Mhm,
behavior has changed over the last couple of days. But one of the as Daryl pointed out earlier with the message center um, a link that he showed, and John, if you want to bring that up on screen,
mhm,
um,
yeah,
it doesn't save the annotation. So the big question is like how do you save it? And like we just talked about the Win Shift S. If you're on a Mac, it's Shift Command 4 or 5 to take a screenshot,
mhm,
and that captures everything that you've done. But there's a couple of other tools that you can take advantage of that are super helpful. And one of my favorites is a Microsoft product. It's called Office Lens. If you've never used Office Lens, it's ridiculously powerful, but it's
mhm,
also baked into the Office app and the OneDrive app. And I will try to bring that up on the screen and show that now.
yeah,
So let me just do this as
there
a
you go.
projector. Let me. All right. So, for example, I've got my iPad here. Just gonna switch over real quick, and I've got the Lens app in the on the bottom row. It's the third one from the left. I'm gonna click on that. That opens up
Mhm,
Lens. Brief little screen to get you introduced to it. Allow access. It needs access to your camera, and then from there, you can allow it to access photos or whatnot. But basically we can use this as a way to capture something. So if we had the whiteboard up, and this is very much like Inception, like pointing at that, but if you had the whiteboard up, it would allow you to take a picture. But the cool thing is, if you notice on the right hand side, you've got actions, document, board, business card, and photo, and it does auto cropping as well. So depending on like the screen,
mm,
it tries to put that in like a dialog box. And then like when you take a picture of it, I'll just grab this one. It'll allow you to change like the perspective, change the skew of whatever you took an image of. And you can adjust the border after each scan, and you can modify this basically however you want. That's the area that I want. Let me confirm, pull that down.
mhm,
It'll make adjustments. And then on top of that, like once you get whatever you want, and you want to kind of adjust, you have the ability to add in text. You've got ink. You've got the ability to reorder, delete, rotate, crop, filters, and so forth. So you're able to grab a lot of information with that. And if like I were pointed at an actual whiteboard that we were working on, or some of the document, like maybe this guy right here, just a couple commands that I use for shortcuts. That's what I want.
mhm,
Crop down to that. Got a couple of pictures, zoom in on it. There's that could be the whiteboard that we are working on. Go in, add
mhm,
my ink on top of that, confirm whatever I need, and then I'm able to move on to the next thing, save it to wherever. And in this case, I can save it to the Microsoft Cloud, OneDrive. I can drop it in a OneNote notebook, put it in a PowerPoint or a Word document right away. So that's the standalone Office Lens app. I've been using this thing for years. I think it's great. It does a lot. It works on uh, iPad and iPhone, but it's also built into the actual Office app, and it's built into your OneDrive app. So, for example, if you go into OneDrive, right
mhm,
in the dead center of the screen there in the bottom, there's a camera icon, access to camera, and you can see it's the same thing. It's the Office Lens app, but it's directly in OneDrive. So if I were to work with it, from here, and you can see I'm clearly not straight on with this, but grab the item, confirm, that looks good. Same
it does
process.
such a
Like,
good job.
yeah, really. And like
Yeah,
you can be at an angle, you can be in the back of the room. I've used this at conferences, and I've
mhm,
taken, I've used Office Lens to capture the whatever slides on the deck, and because it's doing the auto cropping for me, I'm able to just drop that
mhm,
screenshot right into my photos library, hit go to Twitter, insert it as a picture, do my live stream thing that I do at conferences, and then like I'm able to like move on. But
mm,
here I'm
yeah,
in OneDrive, so it's going to default to OneDrive. But because I'm in OneDrive, it'll also extend to SharePoint and to Microsoft Teams. So these are sites at the bottom that I have that are connected, standalone SharePoint sites, group sites, or team sites, and I can work with
Mhm.
it from there. And then the other one, the other Office Lens connection is in the actual Office app, which is what you're seeing here. So this is the Office app, and you can go in and like you can hit create, and then there's your scanner, and it's the same
Mhm.
thing. This one is a little bit more. It doesn't quite do the red outline, but
It's
it's
not
got
a
some
red
awesome
box,
reporting.
yeah. It's like corners.
Yep, that's what I want. And you can see I was not straight on with that. And there's the same set of commands right there.
Mhm.
And then you can start, annotate whatever you need. And then when you hit done, because you're in the Office app, now it's going to bring me into here, and I could have a whole series of snapshots that I want to work with. Select the ones that I want. I could create a PDF that's down at the bottom. I could choose to share from here and figure out like where I'm going to share from. Got some additional options. Create a PowerPoint, create a Word document, rename this, and
Mhm.
then keep moving. But um, that was when that message center post popped up and it said it didn't capture the whiteboard. My first thought immediately was Office Lens. That's going to be the quickest and
Mhm.
easiest way in a lot of cases, especially if I'm using like a Surface Hub or a Neat board, or a Teams meeting device. If I want to capture something in a whiteboard segment, make that something
It's
that
like
I
a
can
bigger thing
easily.
on a wall, yeah.
Yeah. And even just like a regular whiteboard. I mean, it's great for that. And then like you got a
Mhm.
great image, and then from there you can go and take that and do whatever you want. You can see here in my image, I've got three different things already lined up there. One's a document that I just scanned, and then the other two are things that just took quickly from recent images. But
Mhm.
Office Lens, I think, is for me the tool I'm probably going to use more often than not to capture some of this, at least until some of the annotations are saved across sessions. The only thing I don't get is like the whiteboard experience where you can start a whiteboard session, edit, and then when the session's over, you can go back and revisit the file and you can annotate and continue. Here, I just get a snapshot.
Mhm.
This is what we ended up with, but it's quick, it's easy, and I don't
Yeah.
even have to line it up and crop it myself. It's doing all the work for me, and it's such a time saver.
Yeah. Now, back to annotation options on the digital screen from like a single device. There's a tool that you use. You actually have turned me on to this tool called Presentify.
Hmm.
That's another way that you can do screen annotations in a Teams meeting, or this would work if you were sharing your screen into a live event or using a web browser, something like that. Because if you're a Mac user, it's a third party tool.
Yeah.
Um, I think probably your preferred tool would be Presentify for that. I that's the only tool that I've used outside of this to do screen annotations. I actually have a button on my Stream Deck that turns on the annotation mode that I've been able to use for a while now.
I do as well. I
Yeah.
even I even went in and I changed the keyboard shortcut. I did. They had two shortcuts, and I didn't like the order of them, so I
Mhm.
swapped them. And so, like what you're seeing here, some of my shortcuts
Yeah.
might not match up with what the actual app is. I made some changes to it, but to your point, one of the tools that I use is Presentify. I'm actually in
Mhm.
it right now, and so like with Presentify, I can draw like straight lines. I can very quickly
Mhm.
scribble. I can change the color with just a single key. I can very quickly go into like a rectangle. I can highlight, or I can de-emphasize the thing that I want. I can go and switch into. I'll go into like an arrow. This one's non-emphasized. This one's
Mhm.
got emphasis on it. This tool also has a built-in um, text tool, which is really neat.
Mhm.
I can go back into freeform with it. And then the other thing that this tool does, this is a recent addition, and it's really, really cool. It has a
Yeah.
built-in whiteboard. So I can go in and now like I've got a built-in whiteboard, and I can do basically,
Mhm.
whatever I need. And so I use this in presentations all the time because when I'm in a Teams meeting, my default share mode is if there's a PowerPoint, I load that in PowerPoint Live. I let it
Mhm.
run through the cloud. Great experience there. But if I need to do a demo, that demo is going to be done from my desktop, because more often than not, I'm working
Mhm.
between 2 and 3 applications. Here's SharePoint, here's Teams, and here's something else, and going back and forth between the
Yeah.
tool. This tool, this third-party app from the Presentify developer, it's a game changer for me. Not only
Mhm.
can I do this kind of stuff, but there's also you can highlight your cursor with it.
Mhm.
So, like, John uses a different tool for it. This is just the one that I happen to prefer. But I can easily,
Yeah,
with
'cause it's all in one app.
one shortcut, I can do all of this stuff. And like, I'll show you from my menu bar up here. So this is Presentify here. So there's the shortcuts to control it, highlight the cursor. But if you go into preferences,
Mhm.
um, you can start it when your computer boots up.
Mhm.
These are the colors. You can change those, so you have a color picker if you don't like their defaults. But the keyboard shortcuts just Control 1, 2, and 3, and it toggles between those 3 colors. You can change the line
Yeah.
weight, and then your whiteboard, you can also change the color. The default's to black. You can change it to white or another color if you
Nice.
want. And then you can erase your annotations automatically. You can also, and there's an erase option in there as well, so you can manually do it. And then you can even save these across sessions. So you can turn it on, annotate, turn it off, go
Yeah.
do something, and then come back.
See, this is what I would like, that type of granularity in Microsoft Teams,
Yeah.
is that with this tool, if I don't wanna save annotations because I'm drawing like crazy, and then I hit my hotkey to hide it and bring it back, it's cleared out. But if I don't want that to happen, if I want my annotations to come back on screen, I just gotta check that box in the preferences, and then now it will persist between me turning it on or off. It would be nice if, that was an option in Teams as well. Uh, but yeah, that's one of the things I like about Presentify as well. Um,
This
and you've
the
got
next couple
your
of things though that I'll show
your
here.
toolbars hidden, right? Because I was noticing that your toolbar wasn't showing up
I
on the
changed the
screen.
keyboard shortcut on that. So from the
Oh, nice.
it normally you can there's 2 ways you can work with it. You can annotate with
Mhm.
controls and without. And I changed
Mm.
the shortcuts on that, but it used to annotate with the controls up at the top, so you would always see that little menu bar up there. That drove me crazy, and then I figured out, wait, you can actually
Okay.
toggle it on and off without that. And so I learned the keyboard shortcut for that. But if you go into the Presentify tool, they've got the keyboard right over here. It shows you
Mhm.
some of the controls for it, but there's
Mhm.
where is it? If view all shortcuts. So if I go into it and then I hit the forward slash, it brings up this little screen. And I've screenshotted this, so sometimes I keep
Oh,
this up on
nice.
another monitor. These are all the shortcuts, everything that you can do. And this is where I learned that it had a whiteboard, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." But
Mhm.
you can
Mm.
increase and decrease the font size. You can just use your mouse cursor for that. You can clear your annotation. If you hold down the shift key, it'll draw a straight line. If you hold down the option key, it'll make it, it'll like fill something with like a semi-transparent color. If you hold down the control key, it'll allow you to toggle the auto erase feature. This
Mhm.
has been updated. I've been using this for like 2 years, and it's been updated once or twice over that period. But all of this stuff, and it just layers on top of anything that I'm sharing, so it's automatically captured in any presentation that I do. Is great. I have people asking about it all the time. I feel sorry for my
Mhm.
Windows users. It's just for Mac right now. But if you're on a Mac,
Yeah. It's
uh,
what, like 7 or $8? It's
it was
fairly cheap,
cheap.
I think.
It was well worth it. Like,
Yeah.
they've got a tip
I
jar.
bought it a
I
year
should go
ago.
and throw in a couple extra bucks because of how much I use it.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's an option as well if you're, you know, waiting for things to mature or you're not in public preview yet. That's another option for you, is if you're a Mac user especially, you can look at other presentation tools to kind of, um, do it at the operating system level. And then that way, whether you're in a live event or you're in a regular Teams meeting, you would have options that way as well be able to do something. So that's cool. And I have mine shown. If I bring back my screen here, I have mine set up to show that toolbar. So like if I turn it off and turn it back on, there we go. So I can show that toolbar and be able to like draw arrows and do that really nice and quickly. And then I've got, again, my cursor. I have a hotkey on my Logitech mouse that allows me to take screenshots easily.
I will be implementing that this weekend.
Yeah, the way that I do that, like let me turn that off real quick and let me show you Logi options. So there's a new app. I'm going to be making a video about this. That's a separate standalone video. But there's a new option if you're a Logitech user. Like I got the MX Master Keys mechanical, so the mechanical version, and then I got the new MX3S, I think is what it's called. Um, you're going to use the app called Logi Options Plus. It just came out of beta. But one thing that you can do is you can map what all of these buttons do on your keyboard and mouse. So what I've done is I've selected when I click the mouse wheel, not when I scroll, but when I click it, I have it set to take a screen capture of a region and save it to my clipboard. So all I've got to do if I'm annotating, and I'm doing this screen annotation side of Microsoft Teams, is I just simply click the mouse wheel, drag a box around this environment, let go. It just took a screenshot. It added it to my clipboard. I can stop annotating and I can paste it into the Teams chat. So if you're a Logitech mouse user, then that's something that you can do on your mouse. I also have it set on my keyboard as well. The F8 key is a dedicated screen capture key. So again, if I hit F8, then it comes up with a cursor or crosshairs. I can take a screenshot and paste it into the Teams chat. That's super helpful. The other thing that I noticed that I'll put in a dedicated video is you can have specific applications set up. So what I could do is I could add an application, and Microsoft Teams is one of those apps. So if I bring that up now, I can set these buttons to do special things inside of Teams in a meeting. And by default, it sets the button right here, this like forward button. It sets that to be start and stop video, and it sets the other one to mute and unmute my microphone. So if I hit my back button with my thumb, it turns off my microphone. I can toggle it back on. If I hit the forward button with my thumb, it turns off my camera and turns it back on. And then the volume, the wheel, you got the top wheel here that you hit with your index finger. On the Logitech mouse, you also have this side scroll wheel. This, if you map it to Microsoft Teams, will turn up and down your volume on your computer. So you can turn up the volume of your Teams meeting if you need to. But those are some things that I have set up to where I've got this set for screenshot. I have it set to a region, and I want to save it to the clipboard. So now I'm set up. If I'm in a Teams meeting, I can toggle my video, toggle my microphone, turn my volume up and down, and I can click it to take a screenshot inside my meeting and paste it into the chat. So you don't even have to touch your keyboard if you do that. And that's a pretty nice option for Logi Options Plus. Do you use a Logitech mouse, Andy?
Yes, and I'm as you're going through this, I'm making the changes right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I see you've got it up on your screen. You're trying to like set that all up.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's already done.
Yeah, I'll make a tip video that's like just a couple minutes long so you guys can share that.
Yeah.
And I'll do it like step by step. It was awesome. That wasn't available in the old Options app, but in Options Plus, the new one, you're able to do screenshots and stuff like that. I use that for screenshots all the time, especially as a new guy in my organization. Every meeting I go to is just a flood of information. Hey, here's a bunch of stuff you've never seen before. Here's a bunch of slide decks and org charts. I'm constantly like taking screenshots and putting them in a OneNote because I'm just trying to hold on for dear life as this tidal wave of information is hitting me as a new person. I've been at EY for 3 months, and it feels like I'm still just barely barely functional. So
Thank you for that pro tip. It is already implemented. Now I just have to remember the gestures.
cool, man. Yeah, yeah. So I've got mine for my back and forward button and my scroll wheel. Those are my 3 buttons that I configure. So yeah, other things to talk about, or other things that Andy mentioned. The other way that I kind of like drive people in my screen whenever I'm doing a demonstration is, we saw Presentify. I can add arrows. I can click the squiggly line. I can circle something. I can annotate at the OS level, which is great. Um, but I also use something called Cursor Pro, which is another Mac application that I've got a video on this, but that's mapped to this button on top of my mouse. If I click that, it turns on the little green circle. And what I like about this application is, not only can I kind of bring attention by showing a little bubble, but I can zoom in on it by holding down my control button. So that's how I say, like, all right, we're going to click the meet now button, but it's kind of tiny. So I can punch in on that and say, it's the meet now button. It's right here. And it kind of like draws the eye over to that space. So Cursor Pro is really nice. There's a ton of settings for that. And the way it's designed is just really beautiful. There's great animation. This is how the magnifier works. How big do you want the magnifier to be? And then how do you want to turn it on and off? What's the keyboard shortcut? Stuff like that. The other thing that I use in my presentation tools is something called Keystroke Pro. So that is this application. And this gives me the ability, not now, um, this gives me the ability to turn on Keystroke Pro, so that, see how I'm doing like Alt Tab or Command Tab? It puts those keystrokes at the top of my window, so people can see when I'm pressing a certain key combination, they can see that. And again, in the settings, you can change what it looks like. You can change when it comes up. Where do you want it to show? I have mine in the top center, but you can decide where on the screen you want it to display. Tons of features and tons of options for Keystroke Pro. And then the third thing that I use in this kind of suite of applications is, I use something called Mirror Magnet. And that one is this option. Oh, wait, that's Snagit. Never mind. Mirror Magnet, this one. So this is if I want to put myself as a picture in picture on my screen while I'm demoing, I use that as well. And that configuration is right here. So I can decide, do I want to be a square, or do I want to be like, what shape do I want to be? I can be 4:3. I can be widescreen or something like that. I like to be a square. I also like to show myself in the bottom corner down here. So the other thing that's nice about this is, if I turn it on, if I move my mouse into that corner, it dims me out so that I'm not covering that little region of the screen. You can still see where my mouse is going. So that's another presentation tool that I use. So you've got a ton of options now. You've got like, you, with third party options, you can show your camera on screen, you can show your keystrokes, you can show your mouse cursor. With Microsoft Teams, now you can turn on your screen annotations. You can annotate on the screen, but you can do one better. If you do it in Microsoft Teams, you get collaborative screen annotation. You get the ability for the audience to chip in and be able to draw on your screen as well. That's better, in my opinion, than Presentify, because Presentify is, if you're a teacher demonstrating something to people, you're doing a demo, that's great. But if we're going to collaborate, I would personally use the Teams annotation, because I would want Andy to be able to draw on my slide deck. I would want Andy to be able to annotate my mock-up of the fake website that we're building together, something like that.
Yeah, I
I think there's
totally
just a
agree.
ton of value in the collaboration side of it.
And I mean, it's in the
Um,
name. It's collaborative annotations versus Presentify. Presentify, I'm going to deliver content. Collaborative
mhm,
annotations, we need to work together on something. I'm excited to see it
exactly.
mature. Looks like we found a couple of nuances or bugs in it today. It's public preview, so they got a little while longer to work on that and work out some of the
Mhm.
kinks. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm really excited that it records in the meeting. That's really cool.
Mhm.
Looking forward to using that.
Yeah. So the references that I want to send you guys as we kind of round this out, we've got 12 minutes left, and then Daryl is going to start his live stream. So I'm going to kind of stretch into 12 minutes here to see if we can like smoothly transition to him because he's not live streaming yet, so he's not quite up and running. Um, but there is a support document about this on Microsoft. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in the chat for you guys. Hopefully that goes through, at least if you're watching on YouTube. But this is the instructions for how to do these annotations from your computer. It tells you like where it is, how you can turn it on and off. Um, this is the tip that says, "Hey, by the way, you can take screenshots during your meeting if you'd like to reference that content later. Note the ability to start annotation content while you're presenting on a Mac is coming soon." So apparently on a Mac, I've been doing my demo in Windows this whole time. Apparently on a Mac, you can't annotate and take a screenshot, which seems odd. I bet the way I do it, where you're using the Logitech mouse, you probably can get away with it. Or if you use like a keyboard shortcut. Some of the annotation settings, just to make sure we're not missing anything, Andy. Um, I would recommend turning on this collaborative cursors. I feel like that was a really helpful thing to be
Yeah.
able to see each other's mouse moving around on the screen. It's not going to work if you've got like 30 people in the meeting and you got just cursors like crazy. But if you got just a couple people, it's kind of helpful to see where they're at. That's one thing I missed, Andy. Have you seen, is there any limit to how many people can annotate at the same time?
I have not seen any information on that.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen that either. Um, that would be a good test if anybody knows, is it 50? Is it 300? Is it 5? I don't know, cuz I would imagine the limit would be whatever limit whiteboard has, how many people can whiteboard at the same time. Um so yeah, how to turn it off, and then so here's some, if you don't see the option for annotating, make sure that you don't have disabled GPU acceleration. You didn't have that going on, Andy, right? Because you eventually got it working.
I got it working
So
on one client, but not on the other. Let me check that
okay.
setting just in case.
Yeah.
I don't
So
think that's turned on.
yeah, if people
No, it's not
are
on.
watching this and you don't see the button, but you're in public preview, that's another place to check. Is you can go into the little dots in Teams, click on the settings button right here, and then under about halfway down this page, it says disable GPU hardware acceleration. Uncheck that box. Make sure that is not checked, and then you'll be able to do annotations. So that's another little nuance that you want when you're troubleshooting this. The other thing here I see, Andy, is it says desktop and mobile. What do you think is going to be behind this mobile tab? I bet it's going to say this is not available on mobile. Yep. As a wait, as a meeting participant, you can annotate from mobile if the presenter is sharing their desktop. With that did not show on your iPad.
No.
Okay, so uh, Microsoft says that you can do it on mobile, but we did not see it. Again, Microsoft, if you're watching, if you see this, put in the comment like, "Oh, here's how it actually works," and I'll highlight that comment. And if I get to it, then I might make a video that shows how to do it on mobile. But right now, we had trouble; we weren't able to do it from a mobile device. It could be, Andy, maybe if you're on mobile in the same tenant, maybe it works.
Yeah, possibly.
But that's the only thing we didn't test. I don't have Megan Bowen set up on a mobile device personally, so I wasn't able to show that. So cool. Well, what other links do we have? What other things do we have for this? There's another link that is sharing content camera. So this is Another option that you have for whiteboarding inside of a Microsoft Teams meeting is if you're doing an old school whiteboard, you're not annotating on the screen. Maybe what you want to do, instead of annotating digitally, maybe you've got at Cerner, we used to have these where it was the projector, the wall was a whiteboard, and it also was a projector screen. So theoretically, for the people in the room, we could show my screen up on the projector wall, and then we could walk up and we could circle and we could annotate the screen. Um, what you could do, rather than sharing your desktop into the meeting, is you could do content from camera, and then you would turn your laptop, or preferably if you had a camera on a stick, you would point the camera at the whiteboard that's projecting the screen on it, and then you would be able to show it so that people could see the annotations right there. It's not going to be collaborative because that person can't draw. They're just watching a video version of it, but it at least enhances and it kind of auto straightens, like what Andy was showing with like the auto straightening that you have in inside of Office Lens. That technology is at play here for whiteboarding with a physical whiteboard, doing something called content capture. That's another option available to you, though. Personally, I would use that as a fallback. My general recommendation is try to do digital whiteboarding if you can. That's the most modern way to do it. That's the hybrid first way of thinking. Is you want the people at home, the people in the office, you want them to be on an equal plane so they can both draw. So I would personally do collaborative annotations. If you're whiteboarding, I would use Microsoft Whiteboard. If for some reason that doesn't work, it's not organic, then I would fall back to content capture. At least, at least do that auto straightening and the nice, projection of annotations on a whiteboard. There's what it looks like with a document camera that's like top down, but it does a really good job of straightening and kind of hiding your hand so you're not covering up the text. So that's the other option, and I'll put that in the chat as well. So here's the content capture stuff. So there's content capture. And then the last link that I'll leave you guys with is this one, which is just the Whiteboard Help Center. For all things whiteboard, this is where I would go. It's got great tutorials and information about all the tools that are available in Whiteboard. Those tools that you have, generally most of the tools, are going to be available inside of your screen annotation. It makes a lot of sense to me. That sounds like a weird use case if you were going to try to shove a template on a screen. But there's that one. And then, oh, Andy, you've got Presentify. This is another one of those great applications that's available. Let me click on this and see if it shows a price. Oh man, it's so cheap. It's $5.99 for the Presentify application.
Well worth it.
Yeah, dude, that's a killer. That's a killer price. If I go under, there's the in-app purchases. So there are in-app purchases, but it's just high fives and hugs and stuff. If you want to donate to the developer, you can add those things.
A hug
So
is
that
$14.
is a hug is $14. A salute is $18. But yeah, I'll put that in the chat as well. If you happen to be a Mac user, there's a link to Presentify. Really cool application. Again, it's not collaborative though, so depends on what your use case is, in my opinion. Okay, so I think we're rounding this thing out. I want to show you guys what this looks like here as we have parting thoughts. So we're going to send you guys over to Daryl's channel where he's talking about chatting with yourself and some new focus time updates. He's live right now waiting for us to send it over to him. So I wanted to show you guys what this looks like because it's actually kind of inception right now as we're like ending out our stream. What we've got is Daryl is taking our live event right now and showing it in his OBS. and then he's just working in the background. He's watching our stream right now, waiting for when the cutover happens. And then you're going to see a little bit of like a countdown timer. There he is with his thumbs up. He's acknowledging us. We're doing streamception right now. If he can hear what I'm saying at all, that's a term that I have coined now, streamception. Yeah, so we're passing our stream back and forth, which I think is a really cool kind of nerdy way of doing it. But that's where you guys are going to be sent to after we're done with our live stream here. So, Andy, any parting thoughts, words of wisdom
This is
before we
public
end this
preview.
thing?
It's subject to change, so I'm interested to
Yeah,
see what kind of updates Microsoft releases to it. But hey, hats off to the team for putting this together. This has been a big ask, and there's some really cool things that they've done with this. The ability to record,
yeah.
I think that one's going to be huge. I'm excited to see where they're going to take it, and
Hmm.
that to that team working on it. Thanks for all the hard work on it. If you need anybody to test something and break it, give us a call. We're
Yeah,
happy to assist in that.
yeah. That's awesome. Well, Daryl says he's good to go. So we're going to go ahead and end this thing out. You're going to hear our little outro music, and then you're going to be presented with Daryl talking about self chat and focus time. Again, thank you for watching. This was a lot of fun. I think it's a really cool feature. I'm excited to see it come to general availability and eventually like some enhancements along the way. Uh, but without further ado, we'll see you next month to talk about some more cool 365 deep dive topics. So have
Thanks,
a great
everybody.
weekend, everybody. Thanks. Bye.